Hello and welcome to another random chess puzzles video. So one of the best ways to improve your chess is to do regular puzzle solving and tactics drills. And also, I would recommend doing them more than once. So these videos, I've slowly been increasing the difficulty. So if they become too hard, after this I'll do one more video that's harder than this level. Today these are 1450 rated up to 1950. So I'll do one future video from 1500 to 2000, and then I'll probably go back to some easier puzzles because if you drill with some easier puzzles, that will, and go over them, do the videos or puzzles, whatever you're doing, more than once. That'll help burn the patterns into your memory better, and you'll more likely recognize those tactics in the future. Instead of just watching this video once or whatever, you practice, try and do it multiple times to reinforce that in your memory. We'll try and solve this puzzle. White has just doubled his rooks on the open file here, threatening maybe to trade off. So what should you do here with the black pieces? So we'll take a look at this. Now, the first thing I recommend, if you're not sure where to start in tactics, look for checks, captures, and threats. So checks first because they're the most forcing. And I don't really see any possible checks. We have the queen lined up on the king. So if there was a way to move this queen out and push this pawn, we could have a discovered check. That could be a hint right there. And pause the video at any time if you need more time to think. Now, one way that we might be able to do that is, possibly attack the queen here with the bishop like this. But we have to watch out because we could have a possible immediate capture. Then after we recapture, the other rook could come down and check. And then we would have to bring our bishop back and block, it looks like. So maybe we want to trade off first. That's a possibility. Tricky stuff here. All right, so let me get rid of all this. Excuse me. Get rid of all these arrows everywhere. Okay. So, yeah, these are a little tougher. So I hope you're able to figure them out. Maybe we push a pawn, threatening. Okay, checks first. If we can't check immediately, are there any unprotected pieces that we can capture for free? It doesn't look like it, or even pawns. I don't see anything. So threats. We already saw if we move the bishop here, there's a capture. We would be forced to recapture or block with our bishop, but then the other rook comes down and then we are forced to block with our bishop. So maybe we push this pawn, threatening this bishop. If it captures, Then we could capture. Queen would capture here. So, you know, if we push the pawn, bishop captures, our bishop captures, and then the queen would capture. And then we could push this pawn with a discovered attack on the king by the queen. And we would be attacking the rook here. So that could be a way to go. All right. Well, that's what I'm thinking so far. So, you know, pawn to g5. Now, what if the bishop doesn't capture? Well, if the bishop goes here to e5, we could attack with the other pawn. Then the bishop could just retreat back here. So maybe that wouldn't work. Or no. Well, let me double check that. We go here. If the bishop goes here, the other bishop, or excuse me, the other pawn. So here, if the bishop goes here, the other pawn attacks. The bishop would be forced to retreat to here. All right, so then if the bishop was here, what then? We attack the rook. You know, then maybe we're able to attack the queen over here. All right, and before I go with that, let me make sure that you know, maybe do we capture the rook immediately? Let's say we capture, the other rook captures. Then we could attack the queen. So maybe that's a possibility as well. We just capture the rook. So capture, other rook captures. But then the queen, if the queen captured, if the queen captured, then we have that discovered attack with the pawn. So the rook would have to capture. Then we could attack the queen and possibly have that discovered attack. So now we have different options here. All right, well, let's go with the rook. So rook captures, rook captures. Bishop attacks the queen. Queen would have to move, but where? Where would this queen move to? Wherever it moves, we would have this discovered attack. So that's what I'm going to go with. All right, and it looks like that's what it wants. So now we attack the queen, and then we have the discovered attack and pick off the rook here. Oh, and then this is unexpected. Okay, we could ignore this, just immediately go after the rook. So see, these harder problems, you really have to try and calculate as much in your head before you move. Otherwise, there'll be surprise moves like this one. So I can ignore this and just capture the rook, it looks like, and the queen would have to... Oh, the queen couldn't move. All right, so now do we just capture or just promote? You know, we could just promote. If we do that, though, the queen will pick off our bishop. So, but then we'll still be ahead. All right, yeah. Why give them any counterplay? So we'll just get rid of the queen. You know, and then if they capture this pawn, we're just ahead by this rook. All right, that was a 1880 rated problem, so a little more difficult. I hope you did all right with that one. So let's move on to the next one. All right. I'll try and do 10 problems here, but I'm going to have to speed it up, I guess, if I want to get 10 in a reasonable time. Okay. What happened here? The pawn just captured. Our bishop is under attack. All right, so we're looking for checks first. Most forcing moves. All right, what checks do we have? Well, we have a pawn and a queen hovering around here. So because those are the most forcing, we can ignore other attacks unless it's a check on our own king. So, you know, if the queen goes here, the king could capture, and I don't see a reasonable follow-up. Queen here, king captures. So if we sacrifice the queen here, pawns could capture or knight. So you have to remember pawn moves because a lot of people overlook those, and sometimes the pawns can make a surprising move or an easily overlooked move. So pawn here check, forcing the king back. Now if the king goes here, we can go here with our queen, you know, after the king moves up here. So check with the pawn. If the king would go to the h8 square, then we could just check and then deliver a mate on the next move. So, all right. Check with the pawn. King retreats. Queen moves to f6, threatening a mate in 1. Is there any way to stop that? Does not look like it. All right, so try and calculate that in your head. See if you can see all those moves in your head, which is good practice for your calculation skills. And pause the video if you need more time. So here we go. All right, so we do have a check. All right. Well, capture with the bishop is probably best. So a good example of where I should have looked for a check against my own king. So something very important to keep an eye out for, because now the queen can go here, preventing me from delivering mate. So that's something I should have taken into account. But it looks like we'll be ahead by a piece there for 2 pawns. But these are doubled and pretty weak, so we should be able to win with that. All right, that was 1500 rated. On to the next one. A pawn has just moved forward, kind of blocking the attack here when the pawn was at d7. Now the bishop is protecting. Looks like we could just pick off this bishop now, though. So that's a possibility. We have a queen under attack, but the rook is pinning the pawn. There's a possible check here. So a lot going on. Well, excuse me. So what should you do first? Well, first of all, as usual, take a look at checks. Checks against the opponent's king and see if there's a follow-up. You don't want to check just because you can, because let's say you chase the king, but you don't have a good follow-up, and then the king just escapes, and you could be open to a counterattack. So, checks. We could capture here, sacrificing the queen, because this rook could capture. Does that do anything? All right. We do have another way to check. So take a look at this. Pause the video if you need more time. But I'm going to say we have another check. We can't go here. The pawn could capture us. But we do have a check here possible. Attacking this way. So perhaps here we check. The king would be forced to move here. The rook is guarding this square. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Get rid of all this. Okay. Queen to c3 check. If the queen blocks, we can just capture and we'll be backed up by our rook. So when a king is under attack, what are its options? Capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run. So the king would most likely run after we go here. So the king would have to go here. And then where could we go? Right here and deliver a mate. All right, let's do it. Try and figure that out in your head. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. Check, king runs, and we deliver a mate here. Okay, so this is an important pattern that you should try and learn. I've mentioned this before. Okay, a king, when it's somewhere on the chessboard in the middle of the board or wherever it has 8 squares around it. So a king can move to 8 different squares. Now when a queen is able to check the king side by side with the king, here the queen will cover here, here, the square that it's on as long as it's protected, here, here, and these squares. The only 2 that it does not cover, get rid of these, are these 2. So this is an important pattern, because king covers here, 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 and here, and these 2 highlighted squares it does not cover. So this is a good pattern to remember whenever you're trying to checkmate with a queen and you want to make sure that the queen will be able to cover all the squares around the king. If you instantly know that, oh, if I'm checking from the side, so if I'm checking from the side, whether it's here, 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 or here, then you'll know the opposite 2 squares from where the queen is on the corner. So if the queen is here, it covers all the squares around the king except these opposite 2 corner squares. All right, moving on. That was a 1700 puzzle, and on to problem number 4. A knight is just moved on the rim where it's looking dim, as the saying goes. So what do we want to do here? Well, we should look for checks as usual. Where can we check the king? Well, we could go here. we might be captured. Here, we might be captured. A knight could go here, captured by the pawn. Here, captured by the queen. So the queen could also go here, but then the king could run. Oh, and if the king ran, or the queen could, well, if the queen blocked, we'd pick off the rook. If the king runs, we might be able to grab this knight. Then our knight might be in trouble. All right, let's look at material. So that's another important thing to factor into your calculations. So we have 1, 2, 6 pawns versus 7. So we're behind by a pawn. But we have an extra knight. Oh, but we're down a rook. So we're behind in material. So we need to do something. Oh, okay. Hopefully you found this. Hopefully you found the answer here. Take a look at the puzzle and hopefully you can figure this out. Pause if you need more time. We have to look at all the checking possibilities. If, and I think I mentioned this before, if the knight goes here, I may have said that the pawn could just capture. Well, that's impossible because of the pin by the queen on the king here. All right, so hopefully you found this move. And mate in 1. All right, so another important reason to do tactics regularly, so you'll be less likely to miss these easy mate in 1, basic checkmates. All right, on to problem number 5. A rook has created a battery here, lining everything up on our king. The bishop is piling up. The rook is the defender here, but there are 3 attackers and only 2 defenders. So this is looking dangerous. There could be a threat of a queen going here, maybe, pinning the defender. And then the rook could try and jump in here, possibly. That might give the queen time to move, but I don't know. It looks pretty dangerous. Before we go into all that, the first thing to look at will be checks against our opponent's king. Do we even have any checks? Doesn't look like it. Does not look like we have any immediate checks. We have this pawn in the way. Otherwise the rook could sacrifice itself. All right, so no checks, no immediate checks. Any captures? Any free unprotected pieces? Well, this bishop, but it's pinned. This pawn is pinned and cannot capture because of this rook and queen lined up here. All right, we could go after this pawn, but then that would lead to an immediate checkmate by the queen. Well, we have a heavy attack bearing down on our king. So we have to move with some urgency here. Maybe we try and open up this rook on the king. Capture here. The pawn could recapture. Our queen could capture, threatening a mate. But the queen here could retreat to help cover this square here from a possible mate. can this knight do anything? The knight jumps here. It could just be captured, attacking our queen. All right, once again, whatever we decide to do, we have to factor in the possible attack down here. So what if the queen sacrifices? We capture. The rook captures. We have to be careful if we go here. There could be a discovered attack on our king. So maybe we would have to go here. The other rook could come over. Would we be able to do anything in time? All right, another tough one. I don't know. One of the most obvious moves looks to be, do we just capture here, opening the H-file up? If the pawn captures, then what? We capture with the queen, threatening a mate here. So maybe the rook could come down and protect. If that happens, we could check, pick off the rook. And then I think we could hold off this attack. Okay, another thing to watch out for is if we're trying to conduct an attack up here, what if pawn captures and the queen were to move here, pinning this, threatening a capture with check. After we have captured here, well, if we needed an immediate check, our rook could go here. But do we have a follow-up? Okay, let's take a look at this. Pawn captures. If that's ignored, and the queen goes here, then what? This looks dangerous. All right. Well, if we needed to deliver a check, I mean, we could try that. But the king could move to here. Then what do we do? Check again with the rook. Or the queen captures. Then the rook, and we have a queen check, but then the king could capture our rook. Then what? We start chasing the king with our queen. Well, if the queen is down here, the queen could block. Oh, man. Yeah, this is just a tough one. All right, I'm going to go with this. So that's what they wanted. We can just keep pressing forward, threatening a mate here. now we can check. Ooh. If we check, the rook can block. All right. So, I don't know. That looks to be the way forward. Our knight could jump in there and attack that rook. So we go there. Now the knight, I guess finally this knight gets to do something. We jump up here and threaten to mate again with that. So the queen is sacrificed, forcing us to capture. All right, that was 1770 rated, so that was a little tougher. Hopefully you did all right on that one. Okay, on to the next one. A rook has attacked our pawn, which is pinned to our queen. What do we have here? All right. Any checks? No immediate checks against the white king. We do have to watch out that if this pawn is captured by the bishop, there'll be a threat, possible threat here. Our queen is guarding that right now. All right, so no checks. Do they have any unprotected pieces? The queen, but I don't see a way to go after that queen. We could pick off this bishop. With our rook, the pawn, if the pawn captures, they'll get our queen. So, we have possible capture with the rook. Then if they recapture, we could capture. They take our queen, then we promote the pawn with a check. The king would be forced to move down here. Then we could pick off the rook with our bishop. All right, so that looks to be the way to go. Try and calculate all that in your head if you can. Oh, we do have to watch out, though, for checks. So if we are making, so this is important. If you're trying to solve tactics or a problem or in a game, you're trying to see if the tactics work, always watch out for an in-between move or some check, a threatening move. So we have to watch out for this check on our king here. Would that mess up whatever we have going on, and make our tactical combination not work? Okay, so if we capture here, they could check. Then what do we do? Then our king could just move. So that's a possibility. Then they could follow up with the capture. Or do we block with the queen? No, because then their queen could capture our bishop. So, all right. I'm thinking rook captures, rook captures. If they throw in this move, what do we do? Just sidestep over here? Something like that. Oh, we have to watch out though and factor that into our calculations because we capture here. Um, the rook captures, pawn captures. If this rook comes down here and then we promote, with check. All right, I think that works. All right, here we go. Capture, pawn captures. We promote with check and grab this rook. And then we're just ahead in material by a bishop and a rook here. All right, and so I don't know, maybe I was looking at threats that weren't as powerful as I thought they could be. They never decided to check us here. All right, on to problem number 7. Okay, a pawn is captured by the rook here. What do we have? Just a knight and a rook here. So we're behind by 2 pawns and a rook versus a knight. So we have to do something here. All right. Well, this should be a fairly easy problem. Hopefully you found this. So what do you do first? Look at checks against your opponent. All right. The king is trapped on the back rank because our king is covering these 3 squares. So what checks do we have? We have knight here or here, both of which can lead to a capture by the rooks. But our king would be able to recapture. So, is it worth doing that? Well, the king could try and escape as well. So we should immediately maybe check with our rook first here. The only way to stop that from being a mate is what? When you're in check, how do you stop that? Well, you have to either capture the attacker, which is not possible. Run, the king would not be able to run anywhere. So blocking is the only option. So the rook would block here, but that rook would be pinned, allowing us to jump the knight forward with check. The king would have to move, and then we could mate. So try and figure that out in your head. Hopefully you can calculate it out. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. Check and check again, and then a mate. All right, so hopefully you found that little combination there, that mate in 3, I believe it was. All right, 15-10 rated. We have 3 more problems to go. So a capture here, looked like pawn captured a pawn, I believe. Okay, what can we do here? All right, let's take a look at this. Any checks? Well, rook could go here, but the knight could capture. Wherever, if the rook goes up here, it could be captured. So checks with the rook do not look too appealing. Maybe we need to threaten a mate in 1. So all right. Take a look at this. Pause the video if you need more time. I'm thinking we have to involve our queen, which is not doing much here. So maybe we bring the queen up here, threatening a mate in 1 here. So in order to stop that, this square here would have to be guarded, and the only way to do that is either with the knight attacking and capturing this pawn, but then we could capture with our queen, or the knight could move up here. We could what do we do then? Oh, then we could just check with the rook, and that would be mate, I believe. Now we do have to watch out for a discovered attack here with this bishop, and if this pawn moves forward. So if that happens, will we be safe? Always keep those checks in mind, especially if you can't check and keep checking until you mate. If you don't have a continuous checkmate, or something like that, if you have to do a move that is not as forcing as a check, you have to watch out that your opponent can't throw a check in. But I think we'll survive if our king just moves, maybe here. Ooh, but then the bishop could attack us. We could capture. The pawn could promote. But then we could capture with our queen. Oh, but would we want to do that? Oh, man. Okay, that just threw a wrench in the works. All right, let's go for it. All right, so an immediate queen move here. Well, I would say we should just capture. Or do we go here immediately? Then what? If the queen captures, we capture. If the queen checks, all right, so now we have a discovered attack here. So we're kind of forced to go here, I think. All right, yeah, and then we're able to follow through with our attack up here. We're threatening this mate in 1. If the knight goes here to try and stop that, well, then we can just go here with our rook and mate. And what can they do here? If we have a check, oh, we could just go here. All right, so that was kind of tricky. 1810 rated. We have 2 more problems. Let's see what happens in this one. G5. So these are getting tougher. I'll do one more future video where I go up to 1500 to 2000 rated problems. And then after that, maybe I'll take a break on these. But if I get enough people that really want to see more of these, leave comments. And maybe I'll go back down to some less difficult problems. Which is probably what you want to do if you're working on pattern recognition. These tougher problems are better for calculating, for working on your calculation abilities. All right, so now if you do easier problems, you probably want to go over those again and again and drill the patterns into your memory, especially like, mates in 1 and mates in 2. And common tactics. All right, pawn is pushed forward. what does white have here? Okay, well, I think I have the answer to this one, and this is a kind of a recognizable pattern. So this would be a good problem to do more than once, to drill this pattern into your memory. All right, well, pause the video if you need more time to think. If not, the pattern here is whenever the king is kind of stuck here and you have the rooks moving up on this open file, threatening a check here. Now, if we checked immediately, this rook here could come over and capture, and then if our other rook captured, the king would recapture. So what we have to do is drive the king over here. So then that will help you find this bishop move. So bishop here, checking the king, forcing the king to move to here, and then we can go up here with check, capture, and then the other rook comes up to deliver the mate. All right, here we go. Check, check, and capture with check. And so here's a little pattern where the bishop helps the rook mate. And this is possible because of the light squared weaknesses around the king here, especially A6 and B7. All right, that was a 1610 rated problem. On to the final problem here. What is this? A bishop retreating, trying to trade off rooks, perhaps? All right, well, do we have any checks? I don't see any checks against the black king. So, other than this, we do have a rook capture with check. But if our rook captures, their rook could capture. Then if we capture, the knight could capture. Oh, well, so there we go. Maybe I solved the problem for you before I gave you time to pause the video. So pause if you want to calculate that in your head first. If not, let's take a look at it. So the most forcing moves, a check. So capture with check. Now, they don't have to capture with the rook, though. What if they capture with the knight? Oh, okay. Well, then the queen jumps in there immediately and delivers mate. Okay, so that's the one possibility. The other one is if they capture with the rook, we capture with our rook, then the knight jumps up there and the queen goes in. All right, here we go. And a mate on the back rank. So, these are very valuable patterns because back rank mates or threats of a back rank mate can come up quite a bit. So hopefully you did well on these problems. And the next random chess puzzle video that I'll do will be a little bit more difficult, 1500 rated up to 2000 rated. And then after that in the future, maybe I'll do some easier ones again if these are getting too difficult. Feel free to leave comments and let me know. All right, so please like and subscribe to support the channel for anyone that hasn't. Also, thank you for watching and have a super chess day.